no Jedi.
Your powers are weak, old man.
Always remember, your focus determines your reality.
Hello there.
General Kenobi! You don't know the power of the dark side.
And welcome back to Disciples of the Force. I'm your host, Spencer Silva, and I'm here with my good buddy, Austin, who, you know what, we're ready to dive in today. Let's get out of the semantics. I don't even know if that's the word. The pleasantries. Let's just get into it. Give me some Star Wars news, baby.
So tomorrow, Star Wars Celebration kicks off. So be ready for some huge news coming out. It's expected that we're going to get a reveal of what the 2025 movie release is going to be.
Nice. We're
going to get more details and possibly a trailer on Ahsoka. Going to get more details on Skeleton Crew and The Acolyte, which I'm very excited for because we haven't heard very much about The Acolyte at all. Some books and comic book news and what else? Oh, the video games. Star Wars Eclipse, which we were all excited for. We might get some more news for that. And the Coder remake. We're supposed to see something on that, is what IGN is guessing. So we'll see, but it's going to be a big day. So it kicks off tomorrow at 11 a.m. London time, which I think is like 4 or 5 a.m. here. So I'm going to wake up and get all the news. So
yeah, you got it nice. You just wake up and get it all nice. I'm out here in London right now. I'm here for the celebration.
Oh,
so
you
we're
are?
Excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm not. I'm in Utah.
No, that'd be great. But other than that, I don't think there was any other Star Wars news. So big stuff happening.
I think as far as news goes, all I saw was that one of the they were going to do a remote session thingamabobber for the celebration.
That'd be cool.
But it has and so people were all excited, like, oh, I'm going to buy tickets, and then it came out like all the people that were going to be doing it weren't like really big names. I don't remember who, but everyone was really disappointed.
Really?
Yeah, sucks.
That kind of sucks.
But it is what it is.
One more thing that just made me think of, I think one of the Lego sets got released for this next year. But it's
which one?
It's an X-Wing, a UCS X-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate Collectors Series or whatever.
Do you even know Star Wars?
Big deal. I don't, dude. Oh, yeah. So we got to acknowledge that before we hop into anything. Listen, fans and not fans, people who just come across our TikTok page, being a podcaster is hard work, okay? There's sometimes when you can't think of stuff in the moment, okay? And we get bitches, okay? And so we don't just think about your freaking Star Wars ship names all the time. Spencer messed up, and he didn't call a certain ship a V-Wing, which is what it is, and we've seen it before, we know that. In fact, I've got my toy version of it out in the car. I was going to show it on the podcast, but I was like, most of our people are listeners anyway. And it's like, it had, for some reason, came out in 2007, I think, is what it says on it. And for some reason, it has all these detachable parts. And of course, it's been 20 years, 15 years. So all the detachable parts are like gone. So I was like, what am I even going to show? It's really cool though. And when I was looking for it, excuse me, when I was looking for it, I found, dude, my parents got me the coolest Star Wars figures. I've actually got them here. I took them from my parents' house. But I've got like a first edition Boba Fett figure, like the Ralph McQuarrie design rendering. So he's like all white with like the cool.
Oh, really?
And I've got like the Mandalore, like the original Tar Vizsla, whatever his name is.
Uh-huh.
The original Mandalorian. I've got a toy of him. And I've got this big ass, sorry for the language, I've sworn like 3 times already. Mace Windu Jedi Starfighter. Very cool stuff. So I took it all.
That's sick. I can't wait to see him. That'd be dope.
I should. They're in my car right now. I should have just brought them and shown you, but whatever.
Whatever, dude. It's crazy.
So anyway, to our fans, not fans. Sorry, but it was April Fool's anyway. So joke's on you, idiot.
Here's the other thing. they're just freaking losing their mind. All I said is the ship reminds me of. I literally named Obi-Wan's ship, you morons. Secondly, the Edda 2 is it 2 or 3? I'm just kidding. It's 2. I know it's 2. It's a bit. You get on my back.
Okay.
Secondly, it's still a predecessor to that fucking TIE fighter. All right, I'm not wrong
entirely.
Like,
how do you not know what a V-wing is?
I'm like, that's not the point. I just didn't name them much. Okay. Secondly, I love Star Wars. I don't know I'm not so deep in the lore. Sometimes I'm gonna miss things that you guys catch. All right, chill out, you effing virgins.
Exactly. That's the point we're getting at.
All right, I'm done. Done being mad. Happy time.
Okay, happy time.
Should we jump into some Mandalorian? I know you have some hot or maybe cold, I don't know, takes on this. So let's hear it.
You want to just jump in just like that?
Well, sorry. Well, let me give you some background. It is, as the last time I checked, it is the lowest rating of the season.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
It's got a. It was at a 7. I'm sure it started low, so usually when it starts pretty low, it is going to end even lower. Because like most of the time, it's like they start high and then go a little bit lower. This is at a 7, so it's probably going to drop pretty hard. Last week's kind of finalized at an 8.5, so people liked it. But yes, now jump into it. Let's hear it. Let's hear what you got.
So I sat down. I've talked about this guy. Like if he ever listens to the podcast, he's going to think I'm a creep because he's in my class with me at college, and I've talked about him every episode. But he's my boy named Tim, and he's like 20 years older than me, probably. But he sits down and he's like, "Hey, did you see the new Mandalorian episode?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "Dude, I loved it. Most star-studded cast we've seen. It was awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, it was great." I hated it, for one. Let me preface this. I'm somebody who loves like silliness in Star Wars. Okay. I get that it's not that big of a deal. I get that it's not that deep. And I love world building and exploring new things. And I like them taking risks and things like that. That being said, the execution was not there. I like cameos every once in a while, but you're talking Christopher Lloyd, Lizzo, and Jack Black all in one episode for like a random planet. I was like, it just takes me out of it a little bit too much. And, in the case of Lizzo, she's not like a trained actress, and it showed, and just some of the things were so dumb. I just really didn't like it. And I didn't like the detective vibe. I know we can get into that, but the story as a whole, it seemed like a side quest, which usually, again, I'm pretty okay with. But on this one, I was just like, I don't know. I don't even know what they're doing, like why they did any of this. But let's hear your thoughts, man.
I mean, I agree. I didn't love it. It wasn't like a home run. I definitely don't have as harsh feelings as you do. we kind of talked about this earlier. But along with that, I loved the detective vibe because, first off, it reminded me, that detective kind of portion reminded me of like Star Wars Attack of the Clones. It reminded me of what Anakin and Obi-Wan are, It reminded me a lot of that. And I did, like we talked about this earlier, I loved the battle droids. I love seeing them, in like better quality, because last time we saw them was 2000. I want to say 5, 6,
5, in live action. Yeah. Well, let's see. Have they been in any other project in live action? I don't think so. So
I can't remember. If there is, it did stand out. So it was cool to just, because, watching the older movies and you watch that, like, oh, that looks really good, really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the chase scene was kind of, dude, every time.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
It happened last week.
Gee whiz.
sorry. But I think, I thought the chase was a little too much, but I still liked it. I don't know. I just liked the vibe of the detectives. But let's hear why you didn't like it.
Well, just off that last part, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Star Wars needs to stop doing chase scenes in their TV shows. I mean, it's just clear they can't execute very well. Between Book of Boba Fett, those like motorbike people in that chase scene and the Leia chase scene in Kenobi.
Whoa, Leia chase scene was fire.
That was peak. This one was actually pretty good. It reminded me of Blade Runner. I know you probably haven't seen that because you're
I have.
cultured, but
Rude.
you have?
Yeah, I've seen Blade Runner.
Oh, really? The original?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot coming from you, dude.
What? Why is that
No, just kidding. No, never mind. Sorry.
I didn't watch it on my own. It's because Jaron was watching it. And I said,
Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Okay.
No, but it kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, the reason I didn't like it is just, so here's my thing. I get they're made for kids. I get that we're two adult men that are critiquing something that's not really meant to be like that. And I get that Star Wars fans are a toxic fan base and we're never happy with anything. Generally, I'm pretty happy with how things turn out. I like to turn a blind eye. And again, I loved Andor. You know, I talk about that every week. Andor was perfect. It's like when Thor: Love and Thunder came out. I was a huge MCU fan, still kind of am. But when I saw that movie in theaters, I was in Ireland, by the way. Pretty cool. I saw it in theaters and I said, dude, I can't keep doing this to myself. Like, I just hate what's being turned out now. And I hate spending time watching all this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I felt about The Mandalorian this week. Because this season has been a pretty noticeable step down from the first two, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I was just like, wow, this is pretty bad. I'll just start with, I mean, I guess we can get into details, but I didn't like how silly it was. Again, just like the set design, some of the dialogue is so cringy, and some of the performances are pretty bad. So,
yeah, well, I agree. One of the things along that note that you're saying is, I just feel like in today's day and age, the way we do everything with all the special effects we have, why can't they make the practical effects with mouths look better? Dude,
oh my gosh.
So
dude, the
bad.
Ugnaughts?
Yes.
Are you talking about the Ugnaughts?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about, the Ugnaughts.
I was like, how could they not have done that a better way? You know?
Yes. I mean, like, it's been so bad. Like, I get it. I think practical effects, like, right now is great because we want to kind of step away from, all the visual effects. I get that. That's totally fine.
Right.
But I mean, do something, because it's just like the mouth is just doing that. Like, it's not even trying to mask it. I don't know. I mean, and then again, I'm not a set director or whatever, so I don't know how hard that stuff is. But go ahead.
But again, like, they had it nailed down in the first season. I forget the Ugnaughts name that he was friends with.
Mm-hmm.
I did not notice that at all in the first season. I've rewatched it recently, not even an issue. But in this, it was like, whoa, why does it look so bad? So bad.
Dude, yet again, it's one of those things that we've talked about. It's like they just rush things. They don't take their time, let it marinate, dude.
They could have made this planet look so cool, because again, I love that we're getting away from Tatooine. We're exploring new places. They could have made it look so cool, but there's just this feel, especially now with The Mandalorian, and you can tell it's filmed in the volume, and it just looks so sterile. I know I've talked about it before, but it looks too clean and too... I don't even know how to describe it.
It just doesn't look
something
organic.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to say it. And that's one beef I had, is like, why introduce us to such a cool new planet, and make it look like trash, So
yeah, I mean, there's beauty in the world, man. Just pull from what we have. I mean, pull from I don't know. But I did want to say this. I did like that how they brought up chain codes. I mean, that came up earlier in the Bad Batch, right? This season is when they first brought it up.
First season of the Bad Batch is when we really saw a lot of chain codes, and then a little bit in the Rebels, I think.
The Rebels, that's what I'm thinking, because I just watched Rebels.
Yeah.
Yes. So I thought that was cool that, that's something that they made and they kind of stick to going to it. I think that's kind of nice and fun.
Yeah, and I really liked the way they did it in this one, because in season 2 of The Mandalorian, when Boba Fett first meets Din Djarin, he pulls up his chain code with that like gauntlet thing, and they did it the same way. So kind of cool. Kind of cool little detail. But
something I was going to say. So that shot after Bo-Katan shoots the droid, it like gets really close to her face. I don't know if you remember. but it looked like it was like straight out of a Western. I feel like it had to have been referencing something because it was one of those things where it stood on it for so long.
Yeah.
Like it was longer than it should have been. And I feel like it was just referencing some Western because, we've talked about how that's a huge thing with
Right.
The Mandalorian. So, I mean, I should have watched
Screen Crush?
Screen Crush. Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Yeah, I did. He didn't mention anything about that.
No, nothing.
But there probably was a direct reference to it. Because this was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who usually, I love her. She has the best directed episodes of The Mandalorian, I think. But yeah, this one just didn't go well for me. So, but she's obviously Ron Howard's daughter. She's grown up around cinema like, come on. She's grown up around cinema like her whole life. She's like the real deal. So I'm sure she was referencing something with that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. I can just start from the top of my notes. Do you have any other thoughts or anything?
No, keep going.
I did like seeing the Quarren again and that relationship between the Quarren, whatever she was, and the Mon Calamari Prince.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know what their titles were.
Gross alien love.
Yeah, dude. I almost checked out right there. Like the tentacle wrapping. So funny, so silly. But I was like, it's so, I don't know, just so kind of cringe. Kind of fun though. I like the Quarren ship design. It was just like the Rebel fleet we see in the original trilogy. And of course, those were made by the Mon Calamari with those like little bubbles on the outside. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they, is this mentioned in the comics? I think they were like skyscrapers for the underwater planet. I don't know. My brain's going a billion different ways. I'm having like a migraine right now. Anyway, I thought that was cool. Kind of funny, kind of weird. I wondered if he might be related to the Prince Lichar, I think is his name, who we saw in the Clone Wars, and then again in the Darth Vader comics. You know what I'm talking about? Mon Calamari?
No, not
Admiral Akbar's species.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry, I know the species, but I don't know the prince or anything like that.
Dude, come on, that super cool Clone Wars arc where they're on the
underwater
planet and the Gungans come and help them.
Yes,
Kit Fisto's there.
I'm with you on that. But I don't know if
the main guy in that is the prince who just came to power, and he's like trying to unite the Mon Calamari.
Okay, gotcha.
But presumably he'd still be in power or recently removed from power because we saw him like operating during the time of the rebellion in the Darth Vader comics. So anyway, it was good to see Bo's sidekicks again. I had wondered where they went. Like there was no really mention of them. So I'm glad they reincorporated that into the story. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think as well, I've been wondering that too. And because there was only that one thing where she said she had come back to her planet or her moon, and she didn't come back with the Darksaber, so they were gonzo beans. Right. I want to get into that too at the end of that whole shebang.
We'll get into the effing Darksaber. Jeez.
You can keep going. I think I don't have anything intel about the droid bar, so you can keep going. Okay. Take it somewhere around that area. I'll chime in if I think.
Perfect. I make these notes as I'm watching, so I'll watch on my computer and have my iPad off to the side, and I'll type in notes. And
mine's the opposite.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
The thing is, my computer plays it like 1600 nits. It's a lot brighter to watch during the day. So I just use my iPad as kind of a notepad.
Gotcha.
But you keep doing you, man. I'm sure that works just fine. So I have an all caps Lizzo ? Jack Black ? Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of Lizzo's music. I don't get the appeal. I just don't like. There are so many great actors working out there. Why not bring like pop star actors like Miley Cyrus, dude? If Miley Cyrus is there, bro, put her in. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, that's another thing. It's like, why, like, I get you want to, like if you're trying to pull from that like fan base, I don't think you're going to get very many. I can't see Lizzo fans who are going to be devoted Star Wars fans or vice versa, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's not a ton of crossover. But
Yeah.
I think it kind of did work because I was on TikTok today and a Lizzo, because I follow Lizzo. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, right,
A
you
Lizzo
just said
TikTok
it.
pops up, like her official account. She's like, yeah, we're in Star Wars, which is so cool. Like, imagine being a pop star. Anyway,
Yeah.
all the commenters were like, yes, like going crazy for it.
Hyped it
So,
up. Okay.
like maybe huge Lizzo fans would turn in just to see this episode, and maybe that's what they're going for. It's just like a huge
That's
boost
true.
in
A
viewership
huge
because
boost.
Lizzo does have a chokehold on like American culture right now. So pretty good casting. I think it was cool that Jack Black was in it, and his movie released the same day this episode released, Super Mario Bros. So I don't know. It just felt like a publicity stunt, kind of. I really admire Jack Black as an actor, even though he kind of plays a similar role in every movie.
Yeah.
He does it very well, and he's like a very distinguished actor in that sense. So, I mean, great casting, kind of funny. Not great casting. I don't know what I'm saying. I was just so frustrated, and I don't even know why. I'm like, why are these two in this? But I really liked their characters. Like, they were kind of silly, like when it's panning to them, and Jack Black is singing like, "I love you." Like, I don't even know the song he was doing, but I was just like, that's really funny. But I just wish it wasn't in this series right now.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just whining.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you get the right to whine. It's a free country, dude. If you want to whine, you know. If you want to
Damn right it is. That's right.
But I did like Jack Black's character. I thought, I don't know, I think I like him as an actor. I enjoy him when he's on there. And also we kind of I had mentioned this before, but I really like the kind of Hunger Games, the Capitol vibe that it had.
Yeah, you did say that.
I liked how, I don't know, I just thought it's just cool, because different planets have a, total different thing. But with that, I think, I don't know, I feel like they could do so much more. You can make some crazy sick planets, like make your own culture or pull from cultures that exist. I think it's hard this day, because I think it'd be so awesome to see like a heavily Japanese, inspired planet, like, kind of like bringing real culture into Star Wars would be crazy cool. But you got to be careful because I think some people might think it's insensitive or whatnot. But I don't know. I think it'd be cool to, maybe sprinkle in real culture and put it in there. Because I think, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what made Star Wars so great in the first place, right? Like, George Lucas drew a lot from the westerns he liked and the Flash Gordon serials and the samurai movies, and like and the World War II movies that he liked. That's what made Star Wars so great. So yeah, draw it from the real world, and it's going to be good. I did like Jack Black's kind of backstory, that he's in the amnesty program and a former Imperial, like trying to make this utopia. Like kind of suspicious and weird. I feel like they could have played into that a little bit more. Not that they have the time to, or that they should, but it's like something interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I totally agree with you there. We might have heard Grogu's first word. Did you pull that out? I think Lizzo said something about love, and then it pans to Grogu, and you hear a little. He's kind of babbling, and then you hear love from his mouth.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's pretty close. He's going to talk. And I think there's only, 2 episodes left in this season.
Is that it?
Well, how many are there a season? Because this is
I
6.
don't know.
Are there 8 or 12?
I don't know, but that's crazy. It's coming up that quickly. While you're pulling it up, I have this question, because I think with like series that exist, like you can get so deep into characters and you can develop them so much more than you ever could in a movie, Like Rebels, like you get to really just take a character from the beginning and just run with them and make them, change so much. And I was thinking that the other day because I think it's kind of ruined movies for me, because I can't remember what movie I was watching, but I was like, I feel like there was no character development, like it was so small. And then I had to realize, well, they don't have a lot of time. Like I'm like, oh, if they flip the switch like that, it's like they really have no option. They have to. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's me just being crazy, or?
No, I think there's a great argument to be made, but there are movies that develop their characters better in an hour and a half than a series can in 3 seasons. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And I think with episodes like this, it really shows that like we don't see a ton of character development from Bo or Din. You know, it's kind of like a wasted episode in those terms, in terms of character development. I'm not saying it's a wasted episode. I love a good shitty filler episode, you know. But so yeah, I totally agree with you. I just didn't see a ton of character development, and it's not like there needs to be in one episode, but I just looked it up. There are 8 episodes in the season. We're at 6.
Wow.
There's 2 episodes left, and they've been teasing. I mean, there was one whole episode with barely any of the Mandalorian in it, which again is fine because it would have been a cool episode if not, excuse me, if not for some bad performances. And this would have been a great episode if not for some distracting, at the very least, performances. And it's like, dude, if we're ever going to get to Moff Gideon and have like a satisfying payoff, or to uniting the tribes of Mandalore, which they did progress towards in this episode a little bit, why are we taking so long to do it? 2 episodes left. It's like, why are you dragging it out so long?
Yeah, I know. Now that you say that, makes me worried for the season, because it is like you only have 8. There are some questionable, creative liberties that were taken that I feel like could have pushed this into it. Like, where are we going? Like, I know where we're heading, but it's like Moff Gideon's been teased. You got 2 episodes with him. That's great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even feel like we're at a point where like it's gonna, like, I don't know, where it ended this episode. So that does make me a little worried. I think this is really marking down. Season 3 is going pretty low on the list, and if they can't clutch it up.
Yeah. And it's such a concerning problem for Star Wars as a whole, because this was their most successful. This was what kind of revived Star Wars after the failure. I mean, commercial success, but critical failure of Rise of the Sky, or Rise of, what's the last movie called?
Rise of Skywalker.
I hate it so much. Yeah. Okay. Rise of Skywalker. Jeez. Sorry. After the critical failure of that, everybody kind of wrote Star Wars off as like, it's going to suck. Disney Plus opens with The Mandalorian. We watched it that first or second night together.
Yep.
Back in 2020. No, 2019. Right?
That was 2019?
2019. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, we still lived together, yeah.
No, we hadn't moved in together yet.
Yeah,
but
that's right. Oh,
anyway.
Yeah, gotcha.
And since then, it has been like Star Wars is one ace in the hole. Is The Mandalorian is good, and everything else is kind of subpar, but, at least we have The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then Andor came along, of course, the greatest Star Wars TV show ever. But now, like, think about it. Season 2 finished. I was on my honeymoon. December of 2020 is when season 2 finished. We waited 2.5 years to get another season, to see what was going to go on with Bo-Katan not having the Darksaber, Din Djarin having it, what was going to happen to Moff Gideon. Luke is just taken Grogu. And we wait 2.5 years, and we get to this point. An episode like this comes out, and you're like, what is it building towards? Like, it really seems like they just don't have an idea of where they want to go with it. Now that they've played their card, they've played their Luke Skywalker card, which is the biggest card you can play. It's like, you had so much to build off of even afterwards, but this just seems so aimless. And I get that they've got to fit in those explanations as to why the New Republic was so weak and why the First Order came about. But tell the story you started before you have to justify everything else. So, anyway.
And it's one of those things where Star Wars is so good at just filling in the cracks on the side, just stick to the main, and you can have some off branch. Like, for example, like they did it so well last episode when he said, where they're rising in the Outer Rim, or we've had a lot of problems in the Outer Rim. So small, such a small thing to say, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, you don't have to put so much focus on it. Exactly. But I think they are trying to do that because they want to revive or at least salvage part of the sequels. I think that's really why they're so hell-bent on making so much focus on it, but might bite them in the end. I don't know.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they're trying to do. That's always been the intention, and we've always understood that. Like from the very first episode of The Mandalorian, we talked about um, Grogu's midichlorians being taken advantage of, and that being what leads to Palpatine cloning himself. And everybody's okay with that, and that's a great way to explain all that stuff. But like we're saying, when it's done this way and it takes so long, and it seems like they're kind of losing direction, that's when it gets kind of frustrating. So,
yeah, it's sad. It's really. I mean, I guess you got a good point.
But again, like maybe it's not that deep. It's a kid's show. I freaking hate those comments on TikTok.
Yeah,
it's literally just a TV show. Yeah, it is.
It's literally just a TV show, bro.
That's how they talk, yeah. But it's like, it is just a TV show, but if you're going to produce it, like at least make something make sense. Make it good,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, well, it's one of those things that they have the opportunity to make it both for kids and for adults. Like they can do that. They have the ability. Right. They've done it so many times before. I don't know. We'll see. We got 2 episodes. Yeah. Let's hope for the best. I'm sure we'll see Moff Gideon. Also, my buddy JP pointed out that what is it called? The Empire. Was it the Empire? Let me find my phone. I'm sorry. Has something about they have Beskar. Let me find it real quick.
Well, yeah, because in the first season, that's what Din is paid with by the remnants of the Empire. He's paid with Beskar, and that's part of the reason that Mandalore was like sacked by the Empire and bombed like crazy, is because there was a Mandalorian uprising of sorts, and the Empire had to quell it, and they took all their Beskar in the meantime.
Yes, and that's exactly the point he made. He said they did pay Mando to recover Grogu in the very beginning with Beskar, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it could be Mandalorians, but I guess that's a good point that it could just be, remnants of the Empire or some other, form like that had rescued Moff Gideon. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it afterwards, and I was like, I don't know if they're just trying to frame the Mandalorians, or if they've got their own type of like Mandalorian armor or whatever. But I mean, there was a little tease to it when Axe Wolf, I think is his name, Bo-Katan's former sidekick, the male,
yes,
with like the cool accent, Mandalorian guy. He's piloting what looks like Moff Gideon's former cruiser. So, I mean, that's kind of a tease of like, oh, are these Mandalorians? And of course, it's clarified that they're working on their own. They have their own motives, but maybe there is some interaction there between Moff Gideon and the Mandalorians. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, I have faith, not hope, but faith.
Yeah, low expectations, but high faith. So we'll see how it goes. One good thing about this episode. I mean, there were several good things I loved this episode. Probably my favorite of all time. We talk all the time about, like, you and I do. I don't know if we've talked about it at length on the podcast, but just how kind of sad it is that droids are like sentient and they have like no rights. Like they're literally slaves. So I thought it was cool that there was going to be some semblance of a droid rebellion, which I think could play out in a way cooler way than they did in this episode. They were like, oh, well, it's somebody taking advantage of them and, training them to do this. Like, why can't the droids think for their own? Just kill all these like rich, happy people that are enslaving them. Yes. I did like the way they went, but I think a future droid rebellion would be really, really entertaining.
And it would be very good for them. I think. Hey, give them some rights, man. I did love the droid bar scene. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And that does bring up the point that I didn't like, but you did like. I get right. Mando, Din Djarin, he doesn't like droids. It's been mentioned many times. But to me, I was like, it felt like for me, I was like, this felt like it's over the top for his character. Like, I get he doesn't like them, but maybe it's one of those things like I started thinking about like overexposure when you're exposed a lot to it. Like maybe you have a reaction because there's so many around him because he's only been around a couple of droids before. So having that many, maybe that's why he's a lot more mad. But it was kind of a different vibe than we've seen from him for sure.
it was kind of out of character with where he's trending in his, character arc, I guess. Because we have seen him grow a little bit softer towards droids, but it totally makes sense for me. I liked that part. I wish, I hope that stays a part of his character, that he just hates droids for forever. Because imagine this, okay?
Okay.
You're a child.
I still am.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And this army of dudes who are over 6 feet tall come and invade your town. They kill your parents and they're about to kill you. And then you're rescued, whatever. You survive. The next time you see a dude that's over 6 feet tall, are you going to be upset with him? Are you going to have some animosity towards him? I know you will because you profile and you generalize, but would you? Just go ahead and answer.
I think I can see it. I don't know. I don't know if it depends how long it's been. If I've had time to grow. If I haven't had time to grow, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I feel like Din Djarin's like what, 50?
He's like 50. No, yeah, he's younger than Grogu, which is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but we've seen flashbacks of him almost being killed by a super battle droid. So I just thought it was really cool in this episode that it was an actual super battle droid that he had to deal with. Yes. And I just loved him testing them out, waving his hand in front of their face and then just kicking them way harder than he needed to.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
That is good. So, that was pretty funny. That part was good. I did like that.
Yeah. One thing I hated, I just absolutely hated. So when I was a kid, my sisters would make me watch I can't even remember the names of CSI and all these other detective shows. So I just don't really love detective shows like that. And it felt like it was a direct homage to stuff like that. Like this shot where they're looking at that hologram screen or that computer screen and the camera's in the computer pointing out at them. That was to me, quintessentially early 2000s detective show shot. Hated it. And the droid morgue scene where they pull the super battle droid's body out and that repurposed Imperial torture droid comes and draws his blood.
Yeah.
It's this is so effing stupid. I cannot even believe I'm watching this. This is so stupid.
I mean, I feel like it made sense for them to have some, maybe not exact morgue because, I mean, they're droids, but I mean, that city is heavily, they depend on them. So that makes sense that they have a place to put them when they start malfunctioning. Yeah. But the morgue was kind of funny.
But you have a point because to what we were saying before, the droids are more than just robots. Apparently, they have personalities, and of course they need some level of care. So it makes sense if we're arguing for them to have a rebellion, we need to also argue that they're more like these organic species. So maybe a morgue is appropriate. I just thought it looked super effing dumb. So. Another note I have here, Christopher Lloyd, I didn't love his cameo, kind of distracting. He's 1 billion years old. I was why can't, I mean, kind of cool, whatever. His last name's Hellgate. Of course, we should have seen him be the evil guy if your last name's Hellgate.
Yeah, if you're Hellgate, you're probably not a good dude.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one thing I liked when it reminded me when he is about to push the button, he's don't make me do it. It reminded me a lot of "Don't Make Me Kill You" from Anakin and Revenge of the Sith. I just thought it was kind of funny. It was very similar delivery of the way they both said it. So, but yeah,
that's funny.
One thing I liked.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, what did you think about the separatists? Talking about the separatist ideals, ideology. Did you like that?
So cool, so cool. But here's the thing: I just. Yeah, I thought it was great. Because when you think of Count Dooku is one of the cooler characters in Star Wars. Because even at the time of Attack of the Clones, you have people like Ki-Adi-Mundi, members of the Jedi Council, who are Count Dooku's not evil. He's not a murderer. He's a political idealist.
Right.
They thought really highly of him, even after he left the Order. Of course, they didn't know at the time that he was a Sith. I don't think at that time. Until the Battle of Geonosis, and then they knew.
Yeah, that's when it was exposed.
but he's just like a cool, more or less morally gray figure that just kind of got led down the path of the Sith.
But
he's just such a cool character, and to see people sympathize with him is really awesome. So,
and I agree, and it's like, and I love Tales of the Jedi. They just gave us that extra look into why it all went that way. It's like you would. I mean, if I were him and I went through all of those things, I'm going to go towards that because you start looking at the Jedi like, well, maybe we're doing this wrong. Well, maybe our heart's in the right place, but our actions are not doing what we need to do. Absolutely. And sometimes you got to take away and do his thing, and then maybe he went too far down that road, right? He started become a Sith, but I don't know. I enjoy. I've always loved Count Dooku, especially with all the supplemental stuff we get from the Clone Wars and Tales of the Jedi. It really builds him, and you appreciate him, and I love the respect, like you said, that everyone has for him because he's like Two little things to say to that. So the first one is one of my favorite Clone Wars episodes is when Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku are like all locked up together. I think Hondo Onaka has them imprisoned. Mm-hmm. I just love that. Like the two greatest Jedi in the galaxy at the time, with the Sith Lord just kind of being silly. And that's the thing. I love silly Star Wars. Just not like, if this episode was an animated episode, I would have loved it, would have ate it up. You know what I mean? Second thing I was going to say about Tales of the Jedi, also in those episodes about Count Dooku, we see Yaddle, who's sexy as hell. She's voiced by, do you know who she's voiced by? She's voiced by Yodel.
She's voiced by Yodel.
No, who's she voiced by?
By Bryce Dallas Howard, the lady who directed this episode.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
That's cool.
Okay.
For me, that's all I have. Keep going.
That's all you've got, dude.
Yeah, hey, hit me with the rest of them, baby. I'm ready.
Got like a page. Okay, just kidding. The Ugnaughts, I liked that they were living under this like perfect society and rebuilding droids there, just like the Ugnaughts on Bespin at Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back. Very cool. I said, why was this planet's highest honor just chilling there while they're playing this game? Because they're like tossing that beetle through the hoops or whatever, and Grogu's helping them, which is cute.
Yeah.
But Jack Black and Lizzo were standing there. They're surprised when Din Djarin and Bo-Katan walk up that they're like already done. And she's like, I'd like to bestow my highest honor upon you. It's literally right there. This rabbit droid is just holding the key to the planet right there. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Just a dumb little detail. And she pulls that sword out and knights Grogu. So, oh my gosh. Like, I was fuming at this point. I was like, I don't know. It's fine. It's whatever. I'm stupid for even caring. I wrote Mommy Bryce failed us because I really do love Bryce. Just a damn shame. It was seeing Grogu get knighted like that was making me think of all the actual knights that have been in Star Wars. So that's something we could talk about. I think Sir Christopher Lee, Count Dooku, was an actual knight. IRL. And he has like the coolest life ever. I know we've talked about him before, but we should do a special just on Christopher Lee.
I'll write it down.
He was the inspiration for James Bond.
I do remember hearing about that, yes.
So cool. I think Alec Guinness was a knight as well.
I believe so as well.
Sir Alec Guinness, that's what I refer to him as. Yeah, okay, he was. And then Peter Cushing, I think, might have been Tarkin. Peter Cushing. Knighthood?
Sorry for the technical difficulties. Currently, Austin's looking up if he is right or wrong here on the Disciples of the Force.
I don't think Peter Cushing was. If you're listening, please correct us if he was. I'm just going to type in Sir Peter Cushing. I mean, it comes up. He might have been knighted. Anyway.
Well, I'll research it.
Liam Neeson would be if he wasn't Irish. But let's see. So that was a little tidbit. Sorry, I got us off track.
You're good, man.
Another thing, a continuity mistake with the knife at Axe's throat. I think his name is Axe. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm pretty sure it's Axe Wolf, whatever. But when Bo-Katan's on him, she has like that gauntlet knife on his throat. And the over-the-shoulder shot shows it like driven into his throat. And then the side shot shows it like some distance away from his throat. Just kind of dumb. Anyway, we can talk about the Darksaber finally getting to Bo-Katan. I did not like that at all, the way they did that.
No, you and I talked about this. It was dumb because it was like, why would you wait till this moment to say that? Like, I was defeated by this beast when I was going to the waters to baptize myself, and then she defeated that beast, so it's actually hers. It's like, well, you know that she needs that to like she won't take it from you because she didn't earn it. Like, it's been brought up multiple times. Like,
exactly,
bro, then just be like, hey, by the way. I mean, I get they want a big reveal, like, so everyone could see. Oh, yeah. But it's like, even they wouldn't have said anything. She just showed up with it. They'd be like, she's got the Darksaber.
Like, it makes sense to not want to reveal that until you're around other Mandalorians, so like they can see the transfer of the sword or whatever. But to wait until after the fight, like Bo-Katan challenges him, almost kills a dude, and then Din Djarin's like, oh wait, this is actually hers. Like, think it through, man.
Dude.
And also just like why. Here's the thing: the season 2 series or season 2 finale made me cry. It was like 6 a.m. I was sitting in a resort in Florida during the pandemic, and I was just bawling my eyes out when I saw little Luke Skywalker come through that door.
Yeah.
And that was just perfect, dude. Grogu's gone away. The Darksaber's in Din's hands. And like, what's going to happen? And for it to be reconciled this way, where it's on like a loophole, like a formality. And at the beginning of this season, Bo-Katan didn't even care about the Darksaber. Like, she had made that clear.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, I don't know, just really poorly executed Disney. Come on.
Yeah, it was just bad reveal. It could have been done better. Like, I just really frustrating. I mean, I get that it needs to go that way, but why do it the way you did it?
Yeah. I just, like you said, I'm just really hoping that they stick the landing here. Because there are other, that's always been a gripe with The Mandalorian especially, is that they have kind of one-off filler episodes. So a filler episode right now is excusable, but it's like, if they kill it, if the ending is just great, we're going to look back at this episode and be like, yeah, man, we can probably skip that. It wasn't that great, but who cares?
Right.
But if we get to a point, if this season ends with just like a cold reveal of Moff Gideon, like, if the last episode isn't all Moff Gideon or all like a Thrawn reveal or something big like that, if it's just teasing us for the next season, I don't know what I'll do. I'll have to stop this podcast for sure.
Take a break, take a little hiatus.
I'll be so upset. So hopefully we get some substantive. I can't talk. I'm sorry. We get some substance in these last 2 episodes. We'll see.
Yeah, I really genuinely hope they hit it out of the park, but I don't know. I'm expecting them to do something crazy and then have it resolved in the Ahsoka series or something.
Right.
And come back season 4 and it's not even that.
That's the problem. Is I think we might see that is like they're just going to use the Mandalorian as a way to introduce new characters, because that's what a lot of last season was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've already seen it in this one, Zeb showing up, and I can't think of any other really major characters, but they just had this great setup for the return of Moff Gideon. And even if Moff Gideon died and we never saw him again, I would have been fine with that, as long as there was some, like the Mandalore arc. We see the tribes come back together. Bo-Katan finally unites them. That would have been amazing. And hopefully in these last 2 episodes, we see one of those 2 outcomes, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. but not very.
And then Star Wars Celebration is tomorrow. So by next week, hopefully our hopes will be up. Hopefully we'll know a little bit more about future projects. We'll have a release date hopefully for Ahsoka. So hopefully that I've said hopefully 100 times this episode. Sorry to everybody who's listening. But God willing, Ahsoka will be better than this. But we'll see.
We'll see, man. We'll see. While we're on this, I mean, we could spin the wheel. I don't know if you have more things. Or we could talk about if we really need a more Star Wars series, because I feel like it's kind of going into what we're talking about right now. I feel like it would fit. But we finish yours if you have more topics.
No, I'm done. Let's just I did type no effing way he just gives her the Darksaber after all this. Like I was literally like I have so many curse words in these notes. And again, people are gonna clown us for caring so much, but it's like I don't know. I was just so mad. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about if Star Wars needs new series.
And my answer, and we kind of talked about earlier in the episode, I talked about how it's hard for me. Some movies do it poorly for character development, but I think honestly, where are the movies at, man? Like I need an experience where I go to the theater and I get me a popski and a little popcorn and I sit down and I just get thrown into the universe, get that experience. Like Star Wars series are great, and they are great, like, using them as like stepping stones and supplemental stuff for what we need. But it's like, it's been so long since we've had a movie. And do you think part of the reason it is that way is because they're so like PTSD nervous of what had happened with the sequels? They don't want to drop the ball again?
Dude, absolutely. Because think of the fall, winter of 2019. They'd just come off of their, like a critical disaster, the most divisive movie in Star Wars history for fans. The Last Jedi had just released in 2018, must have been. Were they doing one once a year?
Let me check.
No, it might have been 2017. We might have just been gone.
Yeah, we were gone. We just missed it, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that makes more sense because 2014 or no, 2015 would have been Force Awakens. They were doing it every 2 years. That makes sense. So, fall, winter of 2019, Star Wars fans are kind of tired. They're divided. Rise of Skywalker comes out. Everybody who's a real Star Wars fan hates it. And that's not to exclude sequel lovers. If you're a real Star Wars fan, maybe you did like it, but the majority of Star Wars fans didn't. So they get all this feedback that, hey, this movie sucks. And at the same time, everybody was going crazy about The Mandalorian, just loving it. And so they were like, whoa, we need to take a step back as a company because they had just, Solo didn't do very well for them. Rogue One underperformed, which blows my mind. I believe so, at least to their expectations. Like it was obviously a box office success, but so just 3 or 4 movies in a row that didn't go as planned. And then this series that they weren't really betting on, it was just kind of a way to draw for their new streaming service, just explodes. And they were like, whoa, we need to take a step back, stop investing so much in these movies. We can make these cheap TV shows and everybody loves them more. And so, yeah, that's exactly what it was. And that's what greenlit the whole, I think that's really what opened up streaming for a lot of platforms. Because then you see, just within Disney as well, the MCU really doubled down on that. After the success they saw in The Mandalorian and then the release of Loki, everything went to supplemental TV shows. But at least with the MCU, they're still releasing movies, and the TV shows are just, like I said, supplements to that. With Star Wars, it's like, if you're going to keep churning out bad TV shows, why are you doing it at all? Like, of course, it's a film franchise. Start making the films again. For one, I love TV shows. I love, like you said, the deeper character development, the more time we have with the character. And I know if you hate Andor and you watch this podcast or listen to it, I'm sorry. I don't effing care about your opinion. People didn't like Andor because it was too slow. Mm-hmm. But the depth of story and the depth of character in those little 3-episode arcs, amazing. That's what a TV show should be. And we're just not seeing that. And I'm not saying every TV show should be up to that level or they shouldn't make it. What I'm saying is, like, if you're going to make a TV show, make it compelling, take care of the fans, give them characters that they can actually root for and care for, or don't do it at all. So
yeah, I agree. And I think something you said that I really like is, like, using the word supplemental, because, like, a supplement, literally, like, you need it. You need the main course. You need to eat food, and that's just something to help you on the side. Like, they're expecting us to take this supplement like it's everything, like it's the main course meal. It's like, it's not enough. It's never going to be enough. It's great, and it's getting people interested. But and the other thing is, like we've mentioned, this is all still holding on to the Skywalker sagas. We're still staying in this plane of and that's why you and I are both super excited for The Acolyte, because it's gonna break away from that. And I wonder if that's what they're waiting for, to see the success of that, to maybe push more movies. If it's like, okay, this does good, people are okay with breaking from the Skywalker saga, we can now get into other parts of the universe.
Right. Yeah. And I think you make a great point there. Like, yeah, I'm excited for the Ahsoka series, but I'm more worried than I'm excited, which sucks as a fan, that you're like, oh, they're going to take one of my favorite characters and probably just butcher her, because that's what they did with Boba Fett. That was horrible. Oh, and Obi-Wan, it had its highlights, but it's like, I didn't think anything could make me love Obi-Wan less. And as a character, the series didn't. But it was like, I don't know. I thought just having Obi-Wan in there, and clearly they thought this too. If we just put this character in there, people are going to love it. We don't have to care about a story. We don't have to care about set design or quality. Just put their name in it, and people are going to love it. Get the old actors. People are going to die for it. And I enjoyed parts of it, right? So maybe they were right to some extent, but.
Well, I think they hit some points, like they were right in thinking that a lot of people would be drawn towards it, but how many people stayed,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it does make me excited for things like Skeleton Crew and Acolyte, where they're going away from the Skywalker saga. And from what I was reading today, they just got a new director for one or a few of the Skeleton Crew episodes, and he's actually a guy who directs a few episodes of Dave, which which came out, the new season just dropped, the first
yesterday
episodes
or today?
Today on Hulu, yesterday on FX. But I'm gonna watch those right after this. Anyway, so it seems like there's a lot of news being generated about Skeleton Crew, which I think is still looking for a release of later this year. So I'm excited for that. Because no matter how bad it is, at least they're not destroying characters that I love,
Yes.
So I hope it's good, but we'll see.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and the other thing I have a problem with when we get into things like this is, like, we know the greater outcome of what's going to happen. Maybe now, granted, going into the sequels, it is a little hazy. Like how does this all happen?
Right.
But for the most part, when you stick to like the same story and you're putting it in the middle, you're like, well, these guys don't really show up, so they're most likely going to die or going to
right.
But or like we've mentioned, they might go to another part of the universe. That's the other theory that
the New Beyond theory. You make a great point, and there are ways that can be executed really well. Like Rogue One, that was a story where we knew the outcome. We knew that these characters were not going to make it, but it made it all the more special. So, but I think at least with Skeleton Crew, it's going to be told in a totally different edge of the galaxy, which will be great. I just hope Disney doesn't play it too safe and, have to involve something with the Empire or the First Order. They could do something totally crazy. And I hope that's what the Acolyte is. I'm really kind of concerned about the Acolyte because I've really gotten my hopes up that it's going to revitalize my love for Star Wars. So they better just nail it. But yeah, I think it'll be easier to do so, when you're not destroying people's childhoods by killing their characters and making them, not even killing them. I wish they would have killed Boba Fett.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
rather than just totally make him a crap character.
Disney, do me a favor. Don't freaking release season 2 of Boba Fett. Don't release a season 2 of Obi-Wan. Just leave it where it is. You dropped the ball. Don't try to play catch up. Don't try to fix it. You messed up. You know what? That's fine. You took a creative liberty to go do something that you thought would work, and it didn't. All right, and that's fine. That's life. But let's let that die. You ruined a great, fantastic character with Boba Fett, and that sucks. And I'll never forgive you. But move on.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's another discussion to be had. I know we're getting kind of long here, but not even. I would rather have more series come out and less seasons, right? Like a good limited series where we know there's only going to be 6 episodes. We're not going to expand upon that. Even if it sucks, it's like, well, that was such a small part of the lore that it doesn't matter that much. The Mandalorian, after, again, they played their Luke Skywalker hand. It's like you had so many good directions to go, you didn't choose any of them. Or you did choose them and you didn't commit to them. Like the reuniting the Mandalorians arc. And again, maybe they will eventually, but when you take a whole season to do something and can't really execute it, like what are you even doing with the TV series? So that's what I'm wondering is like, how long should the Mandalorian go on? You know, I know nobody wants to talk about the end of it because it was such a great series. But how much longer does it need to go on for? You and I are in agreement that Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan don't need a second season when they're talking about giving it a second season. I'm sure I'd like a couple seasons of the Ahsoka series just to see how Thrawn plays out in that and stuff like that. But we really don't need. I would like another series that's a limited series. I don't know. But that's a discussion to be had too.
I'm with you. Like, I think Mandalorians, with what they did in this season 3, this is the thing, you know. It's like, okay, well, maybe we just ended on season 4, and then people are like, oh, we're loving season 4. This is crazy. This is so good. They saved it. Well, let's go season 5. You know, they're gonna try to keep going. Yeah. It's like maybe you just, you know, it took its run. Let's end it, and then along with that, like, I just don't. I think you're right. I think we should have a lot more limited series. Like, if we had, I don't know, stories about, I mean, you could tell we've had the Clone Wars. What if you did a live action clone series, right? You know, I don't know, something that short. It doesn't have to be long. Don't draw it out. But we would love to see some live action. We love these characters so much on screen. We love them in animation. We love, like, when we see them in live action, we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
If you have a limited series, you can make them look really good. Because, like you said, you and I are nervous of how Zeb's going to turn out in live action because he looks so good. Short, 30 seconds, right? What's going to happen when he's on the screen for, you know, a whole hour? And that's going to be over 8 episodes, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, take the characters that we do love, give them a limited story. But it's such a hard line to draw because, like, I didn't ask to see Zeb in The Mandalorian, but I loved it, you know?
Right.
Whereas other cameos like that might bother me, you know? Okay. But that's just a preference problem, I guess.
Okay, now hear me out. I just thought of this. What would your thoughts be? 6 episode, one series. Rex. Captain Rex, after, you know, how he escapes, and he's in the Bad Batch right now. Because right now we know he's doing things, but we don't see very much. They could take that, do a live action of it. You can save, what's his name?
Tamora Morrison.
Yep. Bring him back. He could definitely be, he is Rex, right?
Mm-hmm.
Run with that. 6 episodes. I don't know, some crazy, maybe it could be like you know, or maybe a small, like a movie. I don't know, dude. But like, I would love to see that, like him on a mission to save clones, and it maybe comes to this boiling point. But like I said, again, you know that he lives, so it makes it hard to make something like that because you can't build that suspense. Like, is he going to die? Because if you're doing it right after Order 66, you know he's going to live because he lives all the way up until Rebels.
Yeah, I would love that. You would just need to figure out what you want to do and make sure that the timing is right.
Right.
Like,
well, also,
I would love to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it could be like a El Camino thing from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's his story getting out. I don't know. That's what I just thought. But keep going.
That's true. Because when we'd run into him in Rebels, it's kind of assumed that he's been with Wolf and Gregor for a while. Like out there in the desert, they're all kind of going crazy, especially Gregor.
Right.
So it's like, how much time is there? Because I think that's 15 years after Order 66, right? Because Ezra was born on Empire Day. So I think it's been 15 years at that point. So I think they could do it. The problem is Tamora Morrison is old now, and it's noticeable. Like when he first showed up in Book of or in Mandalorian as Boba Fett, everybody hated how fat he was. And it's like, dude, he's like 60 years old. Like, of course he's going to not be as thin as he was 20 years ago. But you would need to play it right where Rex is like aging, but he's still really capable. Because I would love to see what he's doing at this time during the Bad Batch. Because the way they allude to Rex, it seems like he's doing a more important work than they are, which absolutely is, because he's like uniting these different groups of rebels and doing little covert missions for them. So that would be awesome to see. But you kind of got to balance how old Tamora Morrison is and how well that would work with a young Rex.
Yeah, if they were going to announce it, they'd have to do it soon. And
yeah.
They won't. They'll do some other weird thing. But maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know,
We'll
man.
see tomorrow. You and I will text. We'll make some notes of our thoughts of what's released over the weekend at Star Wars Celebration, and then we'll talk about it next week and see what we're excited for or what's kind of scaring us. And then we'll do the wheel.
We'll do the wheel.
With these episodes, we've been going kind of long. We have a lot to talk about, but we'll be back on the wheel pretty soon here.
We'll be back on a wheel. But hey, we're a little worried about the future, and we've kind of talked about that. But hey, we'll see.
Yeah, have faith in our Savior. Okay,
our Lord and Savior.
Trust in Him. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The Holy Trinity. Dave Filoni.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people we can have faith in. I have faith in. My friend Zach texted me the other day and said my Holy Trinity is Dua Lipa, Margot Robbie, and Ryan Gosling, which I think is true. If we put them in at the head of Star Wars, things would be better for sure.
Okay.
So have faith in whoever you have faith in. But
all right. Well, 1, 2, 3. Thank you for being a disciple of the Force.
We're never going to get that.